Thank you. Let's talk a little Browns. NFL Legacies released their Mount Rushmore for each team over the weekend. And for the Browns, the Mount Rushmore was Jim Brown, Otto Graham, Joe Thomas, and Lou Groza.
The
toe. I'm curious, in your guys' opinion, is that the right four to be on an all-time Cleveland Browns Mount Rushmore? And if it is, the guys who just missed the cut,
remix
how
that.
Close you say
you said what?
Jim Brown, Joe Thomas, Otto Graham, and Lou
the toe Groza.
I'm gonna say Lou. You guys say the toe.
There you
and
go.
Groza. Those are the four they put on. Gee, is that the right four? And if whoever was 5, 6, whatever, and that's not in any order, by the way.
Isn't that sad, by the way, that none of outside of Joe, that none of those guys have played in 50 years?
What we would call the modern era.
Yeah, right.
Super Bowl
so
era.
How close could someone else be to that? And I'm going to take this off and let you guys discuss.
Myles Garrett is holding a living place holder right now.
He's breathing down Lou the toe Groza's neck.
Lou's on the way out.
The toe. The foot.
Toe and all.
Myles Garrett is really breathing down your neck. I'm not going to give it to him yet because it's disrespectful. You are a Hall of Famer. But as soon as Myles Garrett decides to say he's not playing anymore, he's in a Rushmore. The rest of them is cool.
I want to frame this properly so
there's
the
no
old
disrespect.
crowd doesn't get mad at me.
Yes.
Right, sure.
And the young crowd doesn't accuse me of being absolutely tone deaf. It is right.
Yeah, sure.
Because the Browns' history, you can't tell the Browns' history without Otto Graham and without Lou Groza. You just can't.
Yeah.
Right.
That is the heyday of this organization. Now, it's different from talking about the Yankees. The 27 Yankees, widely regarded to be one of the great teams of all time. I mean, when you have Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig hitting back-to-back, it should be. But with the Yankees, they have other areas of success, of great success. The 50s, the 80s, or the 70s, the late 90s, the late 90s and into the 2000s. With the Browns, unfortunately, that was the only era of success. What I would say is if I want to do a Super Bowl era Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
And I know that would be an asterisk, but I've got Ozzie Newsome on there, and I've got Myles Garrett on there.
Yes.
And
Clay Matthews Jr.?
No, not on my top four. But I think that Myles Garrett, we all agree on this, he's going to get a gold jacket.
Yes.
Ozzie has his gold jacket.
Yes.
Joe Thomas.
So
Joe
Joe
obviously
Thomas,
on there.
of course, has
That's
his.
3. I got you.
So who's the fourth?
Well, you got to go with Jim Brown. I'm not taking Jim Brown off at all. Jim Brown is the centerpiece to my Mount Rushmore.
He might be the Mount Rushmore in the entire league. Like if you had an NFL,
but he won a championship pre-Super Bowl.
He did, and that's and that's why it's hard for me.
Yeah.
It's hard for me but he's so entrenched in Brown's greatness, and he was so close to the Super Bowl era.
Sure.
The last championship that was won before the Super Bowl era was won by Jim Brown.
But if we were taking Jim Brown, we were saying 1970 on.
If you take him off,
who are you putting in right now as the fourth guy?
You're going to jump on me on this because you have said that he's not a Hall of Famer right now. But for me, it comes down to Nick Chubb or Bernie Kosar.
No, I wouldn't have a problem with either of those.
Oh, I thought you would. Because
I thought you were going to say Baker.
No. Although, for the sake of a nice argument, I think it would be between Bernie and Nick Chubb. Because of where my heart lies with Bernie and the great memories that he gave me when he was playing, I would lean more towards Bernie on that Mount Rushmore. And Nick still has a little bit of work to do before they knock some granite off Bernie and turn it into Nick.
I'm going to tell you what. Like, people don't want to hear this, and they may not think it's true, but Bernie Kosar is definitely, like, if you talking about the fans and you say, give me one of the most recognizable Cleveland, Bernie Kosar by far is that dude. Like,
well, he was the quarterback of the
guy.
Most successful
second
Super
most
Bowl
successful era. Right.
Well,
Super Bowl era, the most successful.
He was the core piece to that 5-year stretch.
That's right.
So, and his story,
that's the best stretch of Browns football since Jim Brown.
And he said, "I want."
So
sadly, you're right.
He started the whole "Do you want to play in Cleveland" thing. Like he said, "No. I'm only going to play for my team."
That's right.
I like who does that?
He manipulated the draft to come into the supplemental so he could play here in Cleveland.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's LeBron-like.
Yeah.
I mean,
so I like the fact you split it in old and new. A guy who, and this kind of sucks, man. I've grown really fond of him. Not saying that he's on the Mount Rushmore or anything. But like Amari Cooper, man, I wish he'd have got here about 6 years ago.
If he had.
I do too. Yeah.
I just like him. I like the way when he put a Browns uniform on, I see the number 2. It just looked like he'd been wearing it forever. Like he's just
Looks like he belongs.
Yeah, like here.
Who's yours?
If we're doing it since the 70s.
Let's do it since the Super Bowl.
Okay.
66.
So obviously Joe Thomas is one. I agree with Yazzie Newsome. There's no doubt about it. Before Amari Cooper, was the only Browns pass catcher to ever have 2,000-yard seasons, which is crazy.
That's wild.
Amari Cooper just became the first one to do it back-to-back years. And then 3 and 4, the candidates certainly. I agree with Nick Chubb. Myles Garrett's definitely in.
Yeah. So it kind of comes down to Nick or Bernie, doesn't it?
I guess I'd be with you and go with Bernie. But I want Nick Chubb to get in there.
If Nick has a 1,500-yard bounce back, either this year or next.
Yes, then he'll get there.
Then you're probably
the
argument is set in stone. See what I did there?
Right.
That it's probably Nick over Bernie. But right now, for the longevity and the memories and carrying the team to greatness, I think great players carry teams to greatness.
Yes.
And Miles hasn't done that yet.
No.
And Nick hasn't done that yet.
Nope.
And Joe never had a chance to do that. So I got to have somebody on my team that led us to team success, and that would be Bernie.
Well, let me ask you guys this. If you just did a team from 99 on, obviously you'd have Miles, you'd have Chubb, you'd have Joe Thomas.
Yeah.
Who's the fourth guy?
It'd probably be a kicker.
Is it Phil Dawson?
I think it'd be Phil.
That's wild.
And that's nuts.
Could you make a case for Joe Hayden?
You could make a case, but you're not going to convince me.
Could you make a case for Joel Bitonio?
No, I don't think so.
I even say, could you make a case for DeQuell Jackson?
That would be the most nondescript of all time.
Right.
That if you've got
I can't put a kicker.
Two offensive linemen, and a defensive lineman. You got to have a skills guy on there.
Joe Hayden. Joe Hayden played some good years here.
Did, but are you going to put a DB on your Mount Rushmore?
Yeah,
I would if he was a Hall of Famer, but a kicker, I can't. I just can't.
I can't get there.
We all love Phil Dawson, but
you know what's
Josh Cribbs? Could we put Josh Cribbs on there?
I'll go with Cribbs.
Cribbs got a chance.
Good one.
That's a good one.
I'll go with Cribbs because he did a lot.
Special
he
teams.
was a specialist.
Yeah.
So again, it's kind of embarrassing that one of your Mount Rushmore would be a specialist, but it's been it's been a long 25 years.
Who's a young guy on this team that's got the best chance?
No.
Is it? Well, none of us are thinking Deshaun Watson, although I don't know at this point if he's still young. He's under 30.
He's old.
Yeah, and
I'm not. JOK's got to do it for more than 1 year.
He does.
Yeah, Earl's somewhere screaming Martin Emerson right now.
He is.
I mean,
Denzel
Ward.
Denzel
Ward
could do it.
Got a chance.
If Denzel has a couple more Pro Bowl seasons, like it'll kind of like cement himself. He can be that mix.
Yeah.
What is a real gut check for Browns fans? If you went around the league and you asked fans from New England, Pittsburgh, the cornerstones of the league, and they're talking about. I mean, look at New England. They haven't had a ton of great players, but Brady was so great.
Yeah, right.
That he made everybody else around him better. Look at the Steelers.
Yeah, you got to leave guys out on those.
You'd have to have 16 guys on that mountain.
Yeah.
So it really is. It kind of drives home the slim pickings that we've had to deal with.
I'm trying to think who I would pick for the Bengals. I hadn't really thought about it.
Is Joe Burrow on it yet?
No.
Boomer Esiason's on it.
Yes.
Carried him to Super Bowl.
I think Ken Anderson would be on it.
Ooh, wow.
Anthony Munoz.
You got Munoz.
Munoz for sure.
And
Corey Dillon.
Maybe Ken Riley.
You ain't got Corey
Great
Dillon?
defensive back.
Riley, another great one.
Corey Dillon was really good. Who'd you say? No, Carlos Dunlap wouldn't make it. In fact, what's his name?
Let's go with Pat McAnally because he was a wide receiver and a puncher.
Right.
I always thought that was fascinating.
Chad Johnson.
Chad Johnson's definitely
AJ
on there.
Green.
Yeah.
AJ Green. Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know.
What's nice is you've got a lot of options, and we're talking about kickers and DBs.
This is.
But times are changing. Here we go.
Somebody said this. Like if this is why, and I did this on Ultimate Browns. Make sure you're watching 5 o'clock Ultimate Browns. Somebody had their list, and they said a bold prediction for the Browns if Deshaun Watson leads the Browns to a AFC North division title. I said if he leads them to a division title, that means there's like 7 or 8 things true. Like if the Browns won the AFC North, I could deduce that chances are he would probably be almost comeback player of the year. to win AFC
he
North.
would deserve it, whether or not they would vote him.
They're not going to win the North unless he plays great.
Unless he plays
That's
stellar.
That's not happening.
They are absolutely they're corresponding facts.
Yeah.
Were you guys able to run any of the Peyton Manning interview that I did Thursday?
We did not.
No.
Okay, so I'll give you the cliff notes. I had two different conversations with him about this, about the Browns and about Deshaun Watson. He says that this team absolutely has a Super Bowl roster. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
He believes that they can compete for a Super Bowl. He says what we have said. It absolutely 100%, no questions asked. It's black and white. Their year hinges on his play.
No doubt.
Period.
It's that. Yeah,
because everything else is there.
And we argued a little bit, me, Earl, and Bull, and I said, look, there is no world where he cannot put up no numbers where it's just like don't throw interceptions. And
no.
Yeah.
It can't be like last year where they won despite the quarterback play.
Right.
It's got to be they win because of the quarterback.
And Earl's argument is he doesn't care about stats. I only care about wins. And I get that in theory, but the Browns are not going to win on the highest level unless Deshaun Watson's putting up big numbers and having success.
Look, they'll beat the lesser teams.
Yes,
But
certainly.
when you get in the playoffs, it's all about the quarterback.
That's right.
What do you do in the games?
Quarterback's got to play great. I spoke to another former quarterback, not as good as Peyton Manning, but I spoke to Steve Berline last week for my podcast. Okay. He said the same thing that Peyton Manning said.
Yeah.
Browns have everything they need. If Watson plays really well, they can win the Super Bowl, no doubt about it.
Yep.
He believes that Deshaun Watson's going to bounce back. And he's not someone who's sugarcoating what he's done the last 2 years. He said he's been terrible the last 2 years.
Right.
But he believes he's going to bounce back this year.
Peyton intimated the same thing.
Yeah.
He hasn't been great.
Yeah.
Peyton wasn't as confident that I asked him point blank, are we ever going to see Houston Deshaun again?
Yeah.
He didn't give me a point answer.
Yeah.
But reading between his lines, he said he's got a lot of work to do. And now he says it's been very tough to start, stop. It's the hardest thing in the world to do. But he has played enough to flash enough, and he hasn't seen it yet.
Right.
The other thing that this is just a fun fact, and we talked at length about the Manning cast, he doesn't even do it from his own house. It's his neighbor's garage, which I was fascinated to hear.
That is so funny.
We talked about that for 20 minutes.
What kind of garage
crazy.
you got?
Well, first of all, you know what kind of house his neighbors have, right?
Yeah. Real quick, guys, Team Medical Mutual is in the lead of the golf scramble through 4 holes. It's very early in it.
Nice. I'm not calling it yet.
Yeah. Thanks to Youth Opportunities Unlimited, Austin Carr, obviously, who put together this tournament and invited us. We really appreciate it. It was our first show on the road.
It wasn't too bad.
Right? The entire show.
We did the remote broadcast.
Go ahead, real quick.
We did the remote broadcast from Caesars. It was not a full show. This is our first full show live.
There you go. How about that?
All right.
Good job by Anthony and Mike. Good job by the guys who are back in the studio. We'll see you tomorrow.
That's wild.
Peace.